All right, all right. Listen, we are back in the building. Of course, not literally, right? But that's what people say. So we're just going to go with it, right? Again, welcome everybody to the platform. We are here tonight with my brother. We are here with my brother, the one and only Apostle James Mouzon. You are in for a treat tonight. And I say that, I might be a little biased. Let me just say that. I might be a little biased, right? Because listen, when Apostle teaches, when he preaches, it reaches the inner depth of me. Okay. We have a lot of people out here who are just, performing, and it's not changing a thing, right? It's not changing anything in their life. But when I first got an opportunity to listen to Apostle, it was immediate. I mean, immediately, like my spirit was like, yeah, he's the truth, right? God is in this brother. And I want you all to know a little bit more about him. And so we're going to jump right into this tonight. Apostle, let's make it do what it do. God have your way. Whoop,
So
whoop,
I
holla.
just feel like after you've been cut off, you got to cut up. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just that's how I do. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Well, let's jump right on into this tonight, Apostle. Let us know a little bit about who you are. Give us, a brief synopsis about your background, a little bit of your testimony mixed in, from James Mouzon to Apostle James Mouzon. Let us know about this journey, sir.
Well, in West Philadelphia, born and raised in the playground,
Remix.
right? But no, as soon as I started talking about West Philly, people like, bruh, you're not about that life. You weren't in the streets, which I wasn't. Like, I mean, people like look at me today and they be thinking like, oh, he's hard. I have no record. I've never broken a law. I am surrounded by 10 siblings. Many of them have absolutely brushed with the law, so they have better street cred than me. So when they hear me talking about streets and all that stuff, they be like, Jay, what are you talking about, man? So anyway, but I was born in West Philadelphia. By the grace of God, was able to move all around the East Coast, Maryland. At one point, had summers in New Hampshire. I'm just well-rounded. Amen. But when it comes to my walk as Apostle James, um, the story starts with a young man that was not raised, quote unquote, as a priest in a church. We went to Baptist church, and my mom, took us to church when it mattered and all that good stuff. When I met my wife about 13 years ago, that's when I got immersed in the world of church. Like my wife has the best of both worlds. She's half Hebrew Pentecostal, half Jewish. And so you go from silky ties and suits that are boxy to bow ties, colorful socks, the bump on the one, I think it's the 1 and the 3, not the 2 and the 4. I don't know. Either way, I had to switch everything up. And that's really where the journey began, when I really came into the understanding of who Jesus is and, Holy Spirit and all that stuff. And here I am later just telling my story. And that's what an apostle is. They're a sent messenger. You're just sent out. You go places where people will receive you in peace. You tell your story, you break your bread, you keeps it moving, and you return back with a testimony. And that's literally what my life has become. For 5 years, I've had the honor and the privilege to lead one of the dopest tribes in the earth, Ministry for Millennials. That is my tribe. That is my church. I am honored to be their leader, honored to be doing life with so many amazing folk. And that's just what I represent. I'm a curator and creator of the Identifiers Collective. That's the movement with the ability to see yourself, author of 9 books. There's so many things that God has allowed me to do in such a short amount of time. And that is me in a nutshell. I went from bars to biblical bars. I like that. I went from drinking a lot to never thirsting again. I went from gluttony and overeating to breaking bread and now seeing Christ for myself. And so that is basically me in a nutshell.
Oh, you already starting. You trying to cut up. You're not about to take me off script tonight. That's what you're not about to do.
I'm chilling, but I mean, my face, look a little crazy. I look like Kanye when he first came into the game, but it's all right though. I'm gonna go through the wire. Let me stop. I'm just kidding.
It's all good though. I respect you for that though. Because listen, you've been going strong. You didn't let any of this stop you. And I know a whole lot of people that would be, all vain and in their feelings, like, oh, my face is swollen. I'm not I'm not going live, but I respect you for that. I honor you for that. Keep doing what you're doing. Here on the platform, we like to laugh. We like to, just, have some fun. So I'm going to kind of pivot a little bit and ask you this question. Apostle, can you share with us a funny annoyance or a pet peeve, and or you are cautious of these types of people? For example, let me help you out. For example, I'm cautious of people who cook food with their pets around the food, right? I don't know if I can trust you.
Oh,
So
God.
you can just share with us any of those. You can choose, but share with us.
All right. So anybody that know me, and I know my tribe's about to pull in like really heavy. I don't know where's the comments at, because I know they're about to cut up in the comments when they start getting it. So one of my pet peeves, everybody that knows James knows that one of my pet peeves is dry mouths and smacking.
Oh boy.
Yo. So this is just an unknown fact, but if I ever come to your service,
Look, let me get some water.
and you are emceeing and your mouth is dry and I hear it in the mic, I have lost the realm of heaven. I'm gone. I am irked, I'm irritated, I'm annoyed, I'm sitting there like, you know what I mean? And then I'll whisper to somebody, get him some water. Like, or if we're eating and you act like you don't got no lips, bruh, like, no, like, my poor kids, and I can't help it. It's just that sound. Like, I can't do the sound. So my kids, like when we're eating together, they'll be like, Daddy, look. Like they be I'm chewing my mouth closed because my son chews like he has a whole hole in his face. I'm like, what is going on? Like half the food don't even make it in his mouth. It's all over the table. So that is one of my pet peeves. I am cautious. I'm going to do two. I'm cautious. I am I am cautious of people that don't know who they are, but push the facade like it's their identity.
Oh.
People that like literally come and like, hey, listen, when you're not raised in the church and you're raised in the streets, there's certain things that the streets really do teach you, like how to decipher real from phony. Like, that's not a road I want to go down. This may be a more comfortable road, So when you come into the body of Christ, coming in freshly saved and stuff, you're thinking like, yo, I'm surrounded by the sons and daughters of God. Like it's about to be lit. But then you start seeing people and nobody knows. And then you be talking like, you good? No, I'm good. No, you're not. Like, what's up? So I'm cautious of people that put on the Avon. That's the Hebraic word for iniquity. Ain't that Avon? Iniquity is Avon. When they put on the makeup and they become a worker of something that is not truly them, that wearies me. That's just my thoughts.
Good one. Really, really interesting. Okay. Can you share with us something that we may not know about you that would make people say, that's interesting, right? I mean, I don't know. Like, do you skate? Do you have a secret hobby? I mean, let us know.
Well, I could tell everybody I'm a karaoke great and an ex R&B sensation. That would be a lie. I was never a sensation. I did try to do music for a long time. Just didn't work. But I'll tell you this, lately, I came into some knowledge things. So I've kind of had to like, oh, that's unfortunate. Let some stuff go. But one of my absolute favorite singers, if she comes on, I'm singing it, Celine Dion. And I'll tell you, I'll be in the car. I can read your mind and I know your story. I see what you're going through. No. And they'd be like, what's wrong? I mean, that was like for the longest time my absolute favorite saying, don't play Titanic. Yo, we were literally on the boat. We were on a cruise. And that was the first song I sung. And I didn't think about it. Like, this is not an appropriate song to sing on a cruise, the Titanic song, because you know how the Titanic ended. But I was like, every night in my dreams, I see you. And don't put an echo on my voice. It's a rap. Like, I'm not coming out of there. So that's one of my guilty pleasures. I love Celine Dion. And yeah, that's just my music. I love it.
Even I'm surprised by that though. Like, I was like, really, Celine? Okay. You know, we
So
all have.
I don't know. Lately, I've had to switch it up because yeah, some people start dabbling in different things, and you kind of have to be like, dang, it was good while it lasts. And I've had to let some stuff go, and yeah, it's unfortunate, but yeah, that was one of my favorite singers.
Got it. Well, you all heard it here. Okay. Oh, don't hate. Okay. Don't judge. All right. So, Apostle, listen, I was led to have you come on and talk a bit about mandate, right? We normally hear people say the mandate, right? So I want us to jump into this, and if you could let us know what your or the biblical definition of the word mandate is, and why did you start teaching on the mandate?
So, interestingly enough, and I don't know if you knew this, Cookie, but as I was crossing into my apostolic call, it was the first message I preached becoming an apostle. I preached for 3 days, and the 3 day series was called Remember the Mandate. When I think of the word mandate, I break it down as mandated, mandate, like man's date. So it is a divine appointment, a divine time that is recorded by us. So whenever you fulfill your mandate, you are fulfilling a moment that people will remember. It is stapled and stamped in time. From the biblical perspective, there was an appointed time and season for all things. We know Ecclesiastes 3, God deals with our understanding that everything that we endure, experience, live through it's not new under the sun. It may be new to us in our generation, but it is a cycle, a perpetual story being told that all of us have a part to play in. When I deal with mandate, I am dealing with your alignment to the assignment of God, the will of God. No you, no ambition, no secret agenda, no soul, emotion, will, mentality that's outside the alignment of what God is saying concerning you. And when you understand your mandate, you understand you were born for a time like this. Now, you know how people be like, you were used for a time such as this. And it's like deep, right? But that's a mandate. Like, you were literally stamped into this paradigm, this moment of time, to fulfill something so divinely succinct to the wisdom of God, that you can't miss it. You will not miss it. It may take people forever to get to that place. I'm gonna be honest with you, Cook. Some people, their mandate is to show you what not to do. It is. Their mandate is to show you how not to live, to show you what not to do, what decisions not to make. When you look at Judas, I ain't gonna do what Judas did. He had a mandate, though. It was to fulfill something. And so, watch this. Man records your moment and it becomes history. So you have to fulfill your chapter in this book that God is continuing to unravel in the earth. That is, to me, the mandate.
Wow. Well, I can't say that I've ever thought about that in that way. Like, when you when you just said it that way, it was like, wow. I mean, I think about, you know, my experiences, or my engagement with people, and seeing them do certain things. And I say to myself, well, you just taught me what not to do, right? And you benefit from that. But to say that's somebody's like mandate, and then you put scripture with it, and I was like, my whole brain was like, yeah, that's so true. When did it first come to you as far as like teaching about the mandate? Was it in a dream? Was God just leading you in that direction? And why do you think he gave that to you in particular?
I think that our generation is very strong with intellectualism, understanding. We're concise in articulation when we understand and know. But I was in a point in a season in my personal life where I had to really make some decisions on who am I. The same season that I heard vocally heard the Lord say, "Walk off your job," and I honored it. And then in the same season, I heard God say, "Now walk away from your house. Let go of the things that you've built your identity around." I found myself writing a lot of vision, and he dealt with me about the man. And it was more of thoughts than it was dream, more of conversation in the solitude of silence, because my kids are, in daycare. My wife is at work. I'm sitting in a house, so a lot of thought. And as I'm writing, he's dealing with the man, right? And the man who scripts. So your manuscript, I begin to write a manuscript. And as I'm writing a manuscript of what is James supposed to be? What will I be defined as? Who will I become one day? Or, what is God calling me to? And what am I really becoming based upon my own understanding? And as these things happen, he says, now you're coming into the knowledge of yourself. Now this is your appointed time. It's your mandate. Man has now, and somebody had to hear this, because you are judging your walk off of someone else's perception who has no concept of the timing of God. The timing of God, Cookie, is so succinct to his wisdom and so beyond our understanding. We deal with everything in chronos, the hour, the day, the minute, the month, the year. But God deals with the stuff in kairos, glory. From the moment he speaks to the moment you become, from the moment you become to the moment that you do, from the moment that you do to the moment that you seek, from the moment that you seek to the moment that you repeat, to the moment that you repeat to the moment that you get back up, to the moment that you get back up, to the moment that you keep building. It's moment by moment that God is counting. And so my mandate is really pressed in and seated in the glory of God. And I think that when he gave me that, I didn't know, honestly, it would be something that would eventually evolve into the identity and all that. I just said what I heard, and in obedience, God just kind of used me there. And the first word that I uttered as an apostle was, remember the mandate. 3-day series, still on YouTube today. Three days I preached, remember the mandate.
Wow. Wow. So, okay, so I want to tie this into what you just shared. If you could tell us the meaning of this scripture, right? Matthew 22:14, right? So the KJV and the NLT expresses it like this: for many are called, but few are chosen. The NIV states it this way: for many are invited, but few are chosen. And, along my journey in conversation with, different people, I find that there's a lot of confusion around what this actually means, right? Can you tell us what Matthew 22:14 is talking about?
So when we deal with the called versus the chosen, I kind of look at it as like a banquet. Okay. Many can be invited to a banquet, but not many people are going to be chosen or selected as the guest of honor at that banquet. There's always, like, there's balls where people like celebrate. Everybody celebrates something, right? but there's always that lead of the ball. The person that hosts the ball sometimes is the one that is the guest of honor, or the honor. You get what I'm saying? Like, you know how people be like, we're here to celebrate all of you, but the host is speaking and all eyes are on them. That's the chosen. You see, when we deal with the calling of God, many people God has invited in. Many people God says, I want you to partake in this feast. I want you to partake in this promise. I want you to bring in, yourself and really pull close. The verse is really dealing with salvation and the invitation of salvation and God's call to salvation. But what happens, unfortunately, is that call can go out to many different types of people, but few really respond appropriately. When God invites you to his table, sis, like when I tell you my fear for God is so real, like when you've experienced him for yourself, there is no way he calls you and you give him a subpar presence. You get what I'm saying? Like if I say to you, sis, look, I'm about to lay out this dope gala. Like I want you to dress to the nines. Like it's all about excellence. We coming in there. We're going to look like kingdom wealth. Like, we're going to break bread. We're going to really celebrate what God has done. Like sis, don't just show up and show out. Right. And you show up in like torn sleepwear. Everybody else is in gown. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you answered the invitation, but it wasn't appropriate. Well, in the spirit realm, God is calling us to really come into the understanding of what he called us to. And it is suggested there's an importance to just hear, not just hearing God's call, but you got to respond to it with a transformed life, aligning to God's wills and his purpose. And so when he calls you, are you willing to let go of all that you knew concerning yourself in order to say yes to him? Are you willing to rewrite the manual that you've written concerning yourself? Because the truth is, a lot of us write these things about ourselves that are based upon lies. They're based upon trauma. They're based upon triggers. They're based upon things that have happened to us, that have bruised us, that have hurt us. And God is dealing with the true blueprint of what we were created for. And so he's saying, I'm calling you, but I'm only choosing the ones that are really responding with a yes. Full yes. Full yes. Not a partial, God, I'm gonna do it when it feel good. I'm gonna do it when it makes sense. No, I'm talking in season, out of season, when favorable, unfavorable, when it feel good, when it don't feel good, with persecution and with celebration. Like, are you willing to be the same with a swollen face, or your health is good? Like, you've got to answer the call fully. And those that answer the call fully, those are the chosen. David answered the call fully. He showed up to a battle line knowing that he wasn't equipped as a soldier, but understanding the call on his life and the word of God not being impenetrable, not being voided or devoided. He knew that all he had to do was hold on to a word and answer that. So there are people that have a mandate on their life that God says, I have called you for a time like this, but the chosen are the ones that appropriately respond with a full yes, not just with word, but with action, with deed, and more importantly, with mindset.
Wow. My God. Sometimes you hear a thing and you just got to kind of just let it sink in. My God, respond appropriately, right? Ooh, I hope you all are listening, and I hope you're taking this in, okay? Wow, the mandate. So can a person go their entire lives and not respond to the mandate, but still be saved and attending church and all of the church events and ... Is that possible?
Listen, there's only one show, and that's Jesus' show. Listen, some people, and it's no shade, like, know my heart, know the kid, right? But I be perplexed when you got people celebrating 90 years of ministry, but they haven't saved anyone or even been saved themselves. Salvation is not based upon your ritualism. It's based upon your transformation. If you are doing the same thing you did when you first came into the knowledge of Jesus, you have not fully come into the knowledge of Jesus. Because when you come into the knowledge of Jesus, everything you once knew will never be the same. And then the Bible even deals with how you crucify him, coming into the knowledge, fully understanding who he is, but then going backwards to a place where you have to go through the process again. He died once, you received him once, and then you build from that place. I will say to some, your salvation has never been predicated upon your attendance physically more than it has spiritually. And you can go to a church but never spiritually show up. You can be in a convocation but never really celebrate the clarion call of the anointed and the elect and the selected. I'm not knocking none of these things that we do, but I'm saying, why do you do them? A lot of people do them to be seen, but not to be felt, or more importantly, leave an impact in the earth. I did not get born. I did not go through the hell that I went through spiritually, mentally, emotionally, all these things to stay in a place where I would never be felt in the earth. None of us should feel okay coming in, passing through, but not being remembered. The devil is a liar. You're a son of God. You're a daughter of God. And if God spoke one time and the earth is still pursuing what he says, who are you if you're made in his image? You should be an impact every place that you go. You should be an influence every place that you speak. The issue is we show up to things, but we become insignificant. That's not God. That's slaveship looking like sonship. I can be submitted to a man, but still be felt in a room. Come on. And so, like, for me, I would say salvation, it's perpetual, it's continual, it's progressive, it's constantly improving over time. What once was will not become over time, because knowledge and wisdom builds the house and understanding fills it with great jewels and treasures. That you build in your understanding of God to the point where you become full with the treasures of God, and you are the temple of the Holy Spirit. And the issue is, sis, you got people going to church, but they never get a foundation. If you never get a foundation, then you never put up walls. If you never put up walls, you can never get another floor. If you never get another floor, you never become a structure. If you never become a structure, you never become the tower that many will see as the glory of God. So you just live in Babel all over again. You're building stuff that look good, but don't got no God in it. That's Ichabod, no glory. So for me, I don't define your salvation by your consistency in a service if your transition at home is still the same. That's why the coldest thing God ever did, sis, I believe, in our generation is the pandemic. Because he forced people to no longer come to a physical building for a show, but to now show that thing at home. And many people found themselves foreign to God when it came to their personal space, because everybody can hookah mashaya in a church setting, but they could not do it at home. They could not tap into a social media platform in order to invoke the presence of God, because they never had God at home. They was able to do it at church. The deacons look good. The pastor looked good. The bishop looked good. But then as soon as they got home, they became the drunkard. They became the whoremonger. They became the liar. They became the manipulator. So God had to shift things to see what's really happening in your foundation. And so now people became a church of 50, became 50 altars. You see what I'm saying? And that is how we found who was really saved and who was not.
My God, that is powerful and true. Okay, so I heard somebody say this recently. There are people out here that say, give me the religion so that I don't have to live the lifestyle. Give me the religion so I don't have to live the lifestyle. But can we help a few people who are not necessarily saying that per se, right? And what I mean by that is a person who is in a place of just doing things out of religious routine, but they really do love God, but they don't know that they are in a place of just religious routine, just kind of doing things out of a pattern, right? Because this is what you've been told you should do and how it should look. And so you show up to church, you're faithful to that, you're faithful to helping out, but that person may not know that they are more so connected to or in relationship with what I call religious routine, as opposed to being connected and in relationship to the Father. Because a lot of people say things like, I'm a believer, but then my question is, are you a follower? Because a lot of us, we believe, but have we surrendered? Have we submitted? And do we follow? So what would you say to someone who is just now realizing, wow, I may actually be somebody who is really in that space of just religious routine? I do love God, But I realize now, after hearing some of the things that have been shared, that they know they need to move into a different space with their walk. What could you say to that person to help them out?
So one of the most toxic things I think our generation has begun to do is shun what has gone before us. And I'm probably not going to be popular when I say this, but people be saying stuff like, "Oh, I'm not religious, I'm relational," right? "Oh, I don't need religion, I just need a relationship," right? James 1:26-27. If anyone thinks he is religious and does not bridle his tongue but deceives his heart, this person's religion is worthless. Listen to this. Religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this: to visit orphans and widows in their affliction, to keep oneself unsustained or unstained from the world. That is the definition biblically of what religion is. Religion is the confines required until transformation causes you to move by faith, not by sight, to be led into all truth. When one shuns religion but never gains relationship, they're shunning the parameters that makes them righteous. But Cornelius was not a spirit-led man. He was a religious man, but yet he was seen as righteous before God. And a lot of times we knock what people do that keep them in the upright because they don't have anything else. It's like everybody isn't led by the Spirit, unfortunately. They're not. Like there are some people that have been, and it's unfortunate, but we've been institutionalized and conditioned for so long that all we know is dictation. We don't know inspiration. We don't know how to be led by something inside of us that's stronger than anything in the earth. So there are people that are spirit-led that can lead others, right? What I would say is, to the person that is in that place of, well, what do I gain? First of all, you gain a relationship through religion. You do. I don't care. You can chop it as many ways as you want. I know for a fact that my relationship with God did not just start because I had an epiphany at a bar. It didn't. I went to a church service. The pastor said something and the truth hurt. I'm looking at the roof and it hurt. Like, that's why you're looking back. Sitting in the roof of the church, preacher telling the truth and it hurts. You know what I'm talking about. So like, my thing is like, when I was exposed to something like that, it was now on me on how I processed that. And as I processed that, I'm just being real. I tried boundaries. I tested borders, All right, God, you say this is sinful, but let me dabble over here. Oh, I can't do that. Okay, well, now let me dabble over here. Well, I can't do that. Well, okay, if I stay here, well, what if I take this sharp turn right? Oh, nope, can't do that. Like over time, religion was the paradigm or the parameter, but religion turned to relationship. The relationship became the navigator. And so I'm navigating within the parameters of religion. And the truth is that, you can be as deep as you want to in today's world and be like, I'm not religious. If you hold a church service, that's religious. I'm just saying, like, if you do praise and worship, it's religious. Like, if you do a communion, it's religious. Like, if you celebrate a birthday, that's religious. Like, I'm just saying, like, all these things we do, it's a part of a cadence. But one thing I taught a week ago is there's a difference between continuity and repetition. Repetition is doing something consistently with a devoided meaning, meaning that there is no longer a meaning behind why I do this. It's mechanical. I'm just always doing this over and over and over again. I go to Sunday service every week because it's just what I do. I go to Sunday service. Continuity or continuation of something is when you build on it and it consistently requires virtue and effort. So I'm going to church, but every week I'm giving an effort to apply that to my life. I'm going to, my services and I'm listening to my pastor. I'm taking all my notes, but I'm doing my research at home first to make sure my pastor's not lying to me. I'm just throwing it out there. Like, some people just take what they get. Like, y'all can take what I took, but go home and read James 1:26-27. Make sure that I'm really quoting the scripture right. You see what I'm saying? Like, study to show yourself as an approved worker. But, so you're studying and you're saying, God, now make this tangible in my life so that I can apply it where I can apply it and it makes sense. And as you start to build yourself in that place, religion doesn't become a repetitious thing. It becomes now a continual thing. And that's where your relationship is birthed from. But we got this prideful ideology that, Religion, it's called shackles on the eyes and the feet of the people, and they're not growing. And religion is the basics. You level up from that place. You see what I'm saying? So to the one that's like, oh, I feel myself in a perpetual cycle. Let me ask you, what is your end game, your vision? What did God call you to complete? Like, I was called an apostle several years ago. I said it. People were laughing at me. They were literally laughing. Okay, apostle, because I heard it and I said it, but I didn't even believe it myself. But that was my end game. So now I'm going to church trying to figure out what's this apostle stuff that I've been hearing. Like, what is that about? And over time, God has allowed this to become continuity. That's the difference between the religion and relationship.
I'm glad you broke it down like that, because there is a lot of confusion around that word and the understanding, behind it in particular. And I'm sure that really helped someone tonight, because we also have, as you were talking, I began to think about those that say things like, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, right? And then that can take us down a whole nother path, right?
Right.
And I I didn't plan on going in that direction, but I would like for you to touch on it a little bit. This whole, like, I'm spiritual, and then no one gives a definition as to like what God they're serving. They say, I believe in God. But some people, they don't ask the question. Me, I'm just that kind of gal. I'm gonna be like, well, who we talking about, right? So can you kind of touch on that a bit? This whole I'm spiritual, and as it relates to, as some call it, like new age and language and things of that nature, right? Go ahead, take it. It's on you.
It's like equivalent to like a person saying that's obese, I'm not fat, I'm big bone. Okay, you're classifying the same thing in words that make more sense to you, that are comfortable to you. You can downplay the true and living God all you want. But one thing that I know, whenever people come to me and they're like, I'm spiritual because, we were made from the earth and we're one and in tune with the earth, and, the chakras, and when they align right and the moon is right, and, and your retrograde is in alignment to what you're called to do. You know what I'm saying? You are opening your third eye and you can now begin to operate, my brother, like with the real, and you got the tentacles because you got the dread. So you really are tapped in to all of the things of the earth and what earth is really trying to say. And I believe God is a her. And bro, God be nurturing us like a mother. This is my mammy up there. You know what I'm saying? So I don't be calling them big man above. I'd be like a woman, not a man, a woman. You know what I'm saying? And I'd be looking like, bro, like you're drawing, like you're doing a lot. And it's literally to cope with what hurts you. You're literally projecting a proclivity as if it is prophecy, and it's not. I'll say it again. People will project proclivities as prophecy. It's not. It's not. I have conversations with people that are woke often, but the difference between when I talk and they talk is they feel chills. The moment they feel it, they be like, dang, I feel chills. I'm like, because that's a true and living God. You can act like you don't know him all you want, and then he'll use word of knowledge or word of wisdom, start walking down their life. You was 13 years old and X, Y, and Z happened. And at 23 years old, you cried out and you thought nobody heard, but God heard. And they be saying, like, how do you know all this? I don't know nothing. God knows it. So tell me the last time you put your ear to the earth and the sand whispered to you your destiny. Tell me the last time you stood in the midst of nothing and the wind was able to push you to your purpose. Tell me the last time a tree produced your help. You better stop playing with God. You let all this new ageism and all this false doctrine and doctrines of devils get you twisted, but the son inside of you will leap every time the Father speaks. So for me, I look at it as like it is your rebellion against the truth because something hurts you. Something somewhere. It's the truth. It's just, as long as I've been doing this thing, As long as I've been walking, I've watched Satanists come to Christ. I've watched Jewish men come to Christ. I've watched Islamic brothers come to Christ. I've watched different types of backgrounds from Zoroastrianism, Hinduism. I've seen Buddhism, and all these people, they got all this psychology and philosophy, and they've got all this understanding. But the one thing they don't got is the ghost. And when the spirit begin to move and start moving in a way that they can't explain it because of their doctrine, and I'd be sitting there like, hey, you can play around with God all you want, but God was already with you in the beginning of time. So all you got to do is yield your vessel over. And then I start prophesying, and don't let me lay hands, and you start throwing up the things that have tormented you all your life, and you start feeling a little free. And now you want to praise, but you don't know what to praise. So now you got to give your life to Christ, and then you got to praise Jesus. You know, all of this stuff really deals with the fact that something along the line that should have represented Christ hurt you, because wolves will always come to the smell of your blood. What are you talking about? When God saved us, it was in the puddle of our blood. How do you know? Cain and Abel. Can you not hear the cry of your brother's blood? Your blood, the blood of your brother is crying out. God responds to our blood, but God's not the first one to show up sometimes to the blood. Sometimes it's the wolves that look like sheep. It's the ones that look like they can help that will hurt. It's the midwives that are really there to abort. Come on. And these people, they come because they smell you before they see you, and they sense where you're going. And so they come and they show up to take advantage of your vulnerability and your frailty and your infirmity. And then when you finally come to the knowledge of who you are, you're hurt because somebody took advantage of you. And so now you shun everything that they falsely represented. So here come a brother that's genuine in his call and his anointing and the truth of the doctrine, and can rightfully divide the word. And I chop it with the best of them. But you running me like I'm your history. And my spiritual father said this. It was cold-blooded. He literally said, until I become your past, don't treat me like it. I was like, yo, but that's what people do. They treat you like the thing that hurt them. So now, instead of adopting the truth of Jesus, they'll adopt some language that sound like salvation, but ain't really salvation. You know, I can't believe it's not butter. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's margarine. It's not the same thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you was drinking that grape drink, but it's not the same as grape juice. You know, like it's close. Yeah, you know, I'm just saying. Like, you got that ufu, not that fubu. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we used to call the psyches or the Nikes. You know, the psyches. They psych. They not real. Like, you know what I'm saying? The bobos and stuff. Like, but that's what we do as a facade of salvation. Because something hurt us, we've shunned the full truth instead of saying, God, I believe you'll recover me. And there's a lot of bitter, not better folk in our generation that are building off of doctrines of devils, because devils comfort flesh where God comforts the soul. And if you could just drop your emotions for a minute, come out of yourself and declare and decree that you're greater than what you've been through, you will find out that none of this stuff broke you. It defined your strength. I'm gonna leave it there.
Oh, you got knives out and hammers and a saw, and I mean, what's going on? Like, who said you could talk like that? No, but seriously, sometimes you got to just let it cut if you really want the truth. You know, I know a lot of people that are out here and they say things like, I just want the truth. I want to know, you know, the real God. If you really serious and you about it, like that word, what Apostle just shared, that's it right there. That's it. Okay, so you got me thinking about, you know, I dare not, you know, have you come on and not talk about, or have you talk about identity, right? So how does identity play in all of this? How does knowing your identity in and through Christ affect your personhood and your purpose?
So, for the record, all right, I'm not a learned man. I just be speaking. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just want y'all to know, like, y'all hear me and it be sounding deep. I promise y'all, after this live is over, I'm going to listen to it myself and be like, dang, that was deep. Because it don't be James. I promise you. So I wrote a book called Identity, right? And so, like, this is a textbook. Like, this ain't even like, you know, like my first book was like 30 pages. It was a little ebook called Building in Dimensions, which was super meaty, super deep. And I'm like, I'm an author. And the Lord was like, you ain't seen nothing yet. He hit this switch. Next thing you know, I'm like this. like I arrived, right? Like, but the penning, it was revelation. But this book, Identity, if y'all look, it's spelled EYE-identity. Identity, the ability to see yourself. But then I switched it up, and it's really, if you move the D over, it's eyed, like watched entity. I'm going to help somebody. Your identity is being watched by the world because you're an entity to the kingdom of heaven. Some of us don't realize you are the greatest asset in an environment currently. Some of us, you've got to accept you are only in a position you are in because truth is you are the solution. God sent you to answer some things. When I wrote this book, it took me 3 days to write the book. It took 2 years to perfect the book's notes. It took several years to live through the book. Several years ago, I started discovering who I was. God sent me some amazing people along the way, brothers and sisters of the faith, brothers and sisters in general, that helped build me up where I was broken. There are things that God began to use them to reveal to me that I would never be the same again. One of the things that I'm huge on, as y'all know, are lions. You see that lion right there? The one with the crown that's right there to the side of me. That lion is what I look at every day, because God wants me to remember you're not just a lion in this tribe, and you're not just a roar, but you are an heir to something greater. And when I wrote Identity, I did not know it would be the cry of this generation. You've got all these things that are confusing identity. And I'm going to be a buck with y'all. A buck means 100 for those that don't know. There are things in the paradigm of even our faith that we understand were created to institutionalize the sons of God. There are things inside of you that is greater than the parameters that hold you down. Sometimes I look at animals that are great in stature and strength that are held by a small chain, because it is not the chain holding them back, it's the psychology behind the shackle. And there are psychologies behind these understandings that keep you at bay when it comes to who you are. But the point of identity is your ability to see you again. Chapter 6 is one of the greatest epiphanies, revelations I've ever received in my life, when God gave me the 5 M's. Of course, one of them being mandate. That's mandate, it's what you wear. Mantle. I'm sorry. I had to think about it for a minute. Mantle is what you wear. Mandate is why you wear it. Measure is how you wear it. Mission is where you wear it. Moment, that's when you wear it. These are the things that define our identity. Our identity is not based upon another man's comfort. It's not based upon another man's understanding. It is based upon the design of God. God has dimensions. There are so many types of dimensions: abstract dimensions, measurable dimensions like height, width, length, depth. These are measurables. Like you can go into a depth and you can measure how deep you are. But there are abstract dimensions of God, his sovereignty, his unfathomability. That means the things that you cannot understand or even contextually describe. These dimensions are all embedded in the DNA of who you are. And the issue is, as long as you've got one that is finite and understanding, you'll never get to the infinite abilities that you have as a son of God. You are created in his image. And even when I begin to speak to people, I'm very wary and careful not to give too much, because if I give you too much and you only cleave to my words, you'll only become the product of what I say. And God says you're bigger than that, because you're the product of what he says. So the point of identity is the ability to see yourself. You're an eyed entity. You are something being watched in the earth because you are of a great asset, great value, great purpose. And that's the point of identity.
Wow. You all, listen, you need to go right now. Don't wait. And grab Identity. It is available now on Amazon. Listen, I wouldn't tell you to go do something, right? And I haven't done it already. But see, listen, I got my book from Apostle himself, right? Okay. And it's sitting right over here, right? It's sitting right over here. But oh, so powerful. I mean, you have a way, of teaching that is just, I mean, I can't really explain it. It does it for me. Okay. Okay. How about that? It does it for me.
Mm.
Um, would you say there is a mandate for men or slash husbands over their family? And if so, what does that look like?
Well, I will say that there is definitely a struggle right now in gender role responsibilities and what that looks like.
Mm,
Ladies are doing their thing. Do you hear
mm,
me? Like, women are entrepreneurs, they are successful, they are completing not only college with doctorates or whatever, but they are building brands that the world is literally thriving from. The greatest minds articulated are the women in this season, especially when it comes to the reflection of what this generation represents. I am not saying that there's no strong women from the past, but it's like in this season, the women have really stepped into their role. Queens, I think about chess, men and kings, they can make one step at a time, whereas queens can move across the board. It's like the other day I was with my wife and we were talking to a couple we're in covenant with, and I was talking to the wife of my brother, and he was talking to my wife, and we're at a table and we're eating together. But as we're talking to the respective wives, the wives are tapped into the opposite conversation at the same time. So at one point, like, we're talking and they both flipped and responded to, like, my wife responded to me and his wife responded to her. And we was both lost, like, bro, like, I don't know what you was talking about. And I don't know, but that really is the best way to describe the functionality of a woman. And because of this, it seems that we are finding confusion in the role of men. There are things right now that I'm very passionate about. One of the things is honor to a man. And I know women ain't gonna want to hear it because we have now added misogyny, narcissism, and all this stuff to the language of what it means to put a man in his position. But your husband, your brother, your father, they're men that should be honored. I know that their lives may not reflect what you expect of them, and it may not necessarily reflect what you would perceive to be great or strong or even successful, but they're deserving of honor. In our generation and even my nationality, our men are of a rare commodity because they're hunted, not just by society, but we're hunted by one another. Pride has literally engulfed our cities to a place where men can't live past a certain age because they're taking each other's lives. And so when you've got a man that is around you standing firm and principle and foundation, and maybe he does not have all of the tangibles you expect, but he's trying to the best of his ability, honor him. Because ultimately, we are rare in the house in these days. We are rare in leadership in these days. We are rare as the voice of authority in these days. I constantly look at lions. Y'all know I love them, but the pride of lions is powerful because the women and the lioness, they are necessary for the sustenance of a pride. But the refuge comes from the man. Come on, the male lion, his roar is authoritative. And, I just believe that the men have got to take their place, not in pride, not in ego, but in true alignment to the will of the Father because of his design. He was mandated, manuscript to be in position. Come on. And one man was made of man. I don't care what you want to say. I don't care how much you want to try to empower yourself. The truth of the matter is, my rib is you. You hear what I'm saying? And you came out of me. Why is it that the inside of me is towering over me? Because society has pushed and fed this agenda to make us believe that men are now insignificant. And so you've got men that are confused. They don't make the most money in the relationship. They don't have the best education in the relationship. They don't have all of the witty ideas in the relationship. And so now they're feeling insignificant because feminine pride comes in the form of witchcraft. I'll say that again. Feminine pride, it comes in the form of witchcraft. What are you talking about, James? Do you realize that the witchcraft movement and the movement of femininity is why the sorcery and all of that stuff begin to transpire? Do y'all research? The women begin to come from under the understanding and tutelage of men leading in spiritual places. They realized they were just as spiritual as men. They realized they could connect to God just like men could, and they rebelled against the ideology of men and masculine leadership. And so they begin to move in the paradigm of their emotions, soulish, and not the spirit. And so they begin to do things that were likened to spiritual atmospheres of what we know, but it was not based upon God. It was based upon different things, crystals and different herbs and all of these things. And so if you really do your research, you'll find out witchcraft, it was a feminine movement first. It is. People have refuted and say, no, it's not the case, but it was the truth. And the witches, they begin to move in that paradigm. And how do I know? Let's pull a receipt. Ephesus. The Bible talks about women that showed up to the church. They were not spirit-led or spirit-filled. They were affluent. They were rich or wealthy. And because of this, men put them in position in the church, and they started to lead the church astray because they weren't qualified by the Spirit. They were just qualified by wealth. And so that's where the letter came from, where they said, oh, I don't let women prophesy. And we've taken that as a law. It was an epistle. It wasn't a law. But Paul was basically saying, you've got to be careful at what's leading you. And so for many of us men, I'm dealing with the men. I'm dealing with the brothers. I don't know if we on right now. I don't see any comments with the brothers being like, bro, I got you, Satan toes, because, I'm feeling the pressure. But the brothers, we've now got this confusion on what is our position. What's our position? We've got people confused on how to lead, because if we lead too strong, emotions say we're narcissistic or we're too strong-willed, strong-minded. If we lead by emotions, now we're too weak. I was getting concerned. I saw you bounce off for a second, since I was like, I don't know. But anyway.
No, I'm here. I was just letting you take the full stage. You said I'm talking to my brothers. I said, let me move on out the way, because I'm definitely not a brother. Okay.
I was getting concerned. I was just like, don't leave me now, Lord. But brothers, like we're confused because there's a sensitivity to how we move in our authority for the sake of somebody's perception that's rebelling against the order of God. I'm a husband and a father. What I say should matter and should hold weight. But now I've got to compete against emotionalism. I've got to compete against feminine pride. I've got to compete against the perception of people. I'm competing against folk that are not even in positions to honor men, but now they want to tell me how I ought to live in my own life or how to lead my own family. You've got women that are bitter, that are trying to trump what brothers are saying because they did not recover from their last season. And so now men are in this sensitive place where they feel like anything they do can be a chasm to havoc. Like, if you do too much, they'll rebel. If you do too little, they'll walk all over you. So I'm saying all that to say it is necessary for brothers to get into position. And what's unfortunate is, as much as I'm trying to encourage my brothers, one thing that's become so hard is gathering men. It's like such a fight to genuinely bring brothers together because everybody got agendas. Like, I'm not building a men's ministry to look deep and look like I'm powerful. I'm building my brothers because I'm his keeper. And I'm going to give this tidbit. I'm done. Iron sharpens iron. Iron sharpens iron. Some of the brothers that I've come into contact with, their wives are trying to the best of their ability to help a man understand, and they're not iron. So the man, when he's pushed and provoked into growth, if he's prideful, snaps back on the woman, and the woman's not built to contest or compete against that. You see? But I'm a brother. So when you rise up because your pride has been checked and I'm challenging you to do better, you can make this go left. I'm going to go left with you because I'm made from the same substance or essence as you. You see? And I'm not talking about violence. I'm just saying, like, men, when we come together, we're a force individually, but we can sharpen one another. A lot of women are not built to take men to another level because it requires sometimes sparks and flames. So, brothers, we got to take our place. I'm not talking from a perspective of ego. I'm talking from an ego, like EAGLE. I'm not talking from a place of lying. I'm talking from a place of a lion. I'm not talking on the bull. I'm talking as a bull or oxen. Come on. You've got to take your place to plow. You've got to take your place in roar. You've got to take your place in soar. And when we take our place, then the ladies can really take their crown and take the glory to another place. And our children can walk in our footsteps and become the leg of legacy, the legitimate ones. So we've got to find our equilibrium, and we've got to stand firm in our belief. I am standing firm in who I am and what I am and what I'm called to, because this false doctrine that makes us believe we're equal, and I'm going to help you because I'm not saying you're not, but we're not equal because we're not the same. We are different. A woman is not equal to a man because a woman is in essence all by herself. She is all by herself a dope commodity. There is nothing in me that can accommodate the essence of a woman because I'm not like her. I'm sorry, I can accommodate her, but I can't emulate her. Do y'all hear what I'm saying? A woman is a woman, period. I don't care. You can do 7 million surgeries. You can do whatever you want to do, but a woman is I'm telling you what I know. They just know what they know. They move how they move. I'd be like, how does she know? My wife be saying stuff, and I'd be like, bro, like, get out of here. Like, where did you? She is an essence all by herself, but I'm not equal to that. I'm not equal. A negative charge and a positive charge are two charges that are not equal. So why am I fighting for equality in a place that you are called to run by yourself? I leave you to who you are if you can just honor me where I am. A man that is not honored will not lay his head. We've got to bring honor back to men.
Wow. Bam. It is what it is. Listen. Okay. So, all right. So with that, Apostle, and you all hang in there with us. You know, we're about to come to our close in a moment, but it's hot in here, right? It's a good kind of hot, right? With that, can you speak to this? Because I've been a part of, or kind of ear hustling on some conversations lately in regards to husbands and wives, and the difference between, this is what I heard, that there's a difference between a man just being a husband and a man coming into a place where he is now a prophet, priest, and king over his home and over his family. Can you touch on that a little bit, if you will?
Absolutely. I'm going to say this, brothers. Some of you handle your money better than you handle your wives. It's just the truth. Some of us men handle money better than our wives. We consider where our money sits. We consider where our money goes. We're careful not to do too much with it, and we're careful not to do too little with it. We make plans with our money. We build with our money. We allow our money to dictate our focus and our destination. We allow money to define our worth and our value. Women and wives especially were currency. And I'm not calling a woman less than. I want y'all to hear me. Back in the day, there was something called a dowry. And a dowry was an exchange that happened when a man took a woman on as a wife. The man would go to the father of the woman and say, I want to take your daughter's hand in marriage. The father determined the worth of his daughter and the man had to exchange that worth in order to acquire her. A man would give up part of his livelihood, whether it was cattle, whatever. The Bible talks about Jacob. He worked 21 years to acquire his wife and the livestock that came with it. A woman is your currency. Your wife is your currency. Let me say that different. Not a woman. A wife is your currency. When a man finds his wife, he finds a good thing. He obtains favor from the Lord. That favor is your currency that opens doors. It opens windows of heaven, that pours out blessings that you don't have room to receive. It puts you in places with great people. It causes you to see sustainability and all these things. But we don't treat our wives like we treat our money. We're not careful where we put her. We're not careful where she rests her head. We don't make plans with her. We don't allow her to really focus us on where we're going, our destination. She doesn't define our value. The glory of a man should be his wife, not the material things, because those things will eventually rot away. But your wife is the one that bears your legacy. That means she bears witness that your seed is fruitful. So when you are married, you are now in covenant with your worth. And I spent 3 hours on my face today because as a priest, as a king, and as a prophet in my home, sometimes the most powerful thing I can do in seasons where I don't understand the trajectory of my marriage is become silent in person, but become loud in the spirit. And brothers are so used to beating and whipping the flesh that they don't realize that the wife is not your punching bag. Sometimes we break down so much to her, not realizing she's inferior to our strength, because our strength belongs in the prayer closet. It belongs in the parameter that God has given us access to in our territory. So there is an essential need for a man to no longer just be in a relationship legally with a woman, but to become her prophet, the mouth of God, to become the priest, the covering of God, and to become the king, the value of God. Because I'm called to produce a thing, she's called to carry a thing. And my issue is you got more brothers trying to carry without a womb. You see what I'm saying? And so that burden becomes a weight that shifts you out of your position. But God gave you a womb to produce seeds in and to care for the womb until she births it. One thing and I'm done. A lioness removes herself from her pride when her young are born, unannounced, unbeknownst to the rest of the pride. The lioness disappears with the young, and she does not reappear until the young are strong enough to fend for themselves. She takes them to a cave, and in the cave, she hides them from the predators and the adversaries in the wild. And she leaves them while they're vulnerable and blind to hunt for them, to feed them. But when they become strong enough, she represents them in front of the pride, and they continue forward. Your wife is the most delicate attribute to whatever you become in the earth. The reason I truly believe, Cookie, that I can be impactful today is because it was my wife who spoke a word into my life in my days of misunderstanding God. I told her in my first date, and I was sitting outside her father's house getting ready to drop her off. I said, "You are a church girl. You go from service to service. I am a bar hopper and I drink." She said this to me, Cookie. She says, "I'm not with you because of where you are. I'm with you because of where you're going." From that moment, 13 years later, I'm still pursuing what the womb produced. A man in position is a man that can prophesy over his womb. He can cover his womb as a priest. And more importantly, he can submit to the womb its value. A king protects his territory. A priest covers the house and the holy things of God. And a prophet only speaks what God is saying. If we brothers could understand that you breaking down your woman in words does not build the house, you not giving your woman her value does not build your house, and you not covering her as a holy instrument used by God doesn't cover your house, we'll never graduate from the legal entity of a husband to the prophetic realm of a husband.
My God. What could you say, or can you can you encourage that man or those men out there right now, husbands who they were once in a place of pressing in and consistency with prayer, and due to, some say, life be lifing, right? There's a lot going on, that the pressures, are building up, and they're no longer in that secret place anymore, right? um they may not articulate it this way, they may not even say this verbally, but they're now trying to figure out how to make ends meet, how to make things work for their home by way of their own knowledge and their flesh. And they're not in that secret place with God as much as they used to be. Can you encourage that man or those husbands that are in that particular place right now, and they want to get back to that place of closeness and prayer with the Father, but it's been a struggle because life has been lifing?
I'll start with a song. It won't always be like this. The Lord will perfect that concerning you. But sooner or later, it will turn in your favor. It's turning around for you. I know it is turning around for me, around for me, around for me. It's turning around for me. I'm going to say there was a season in the Old Testament where men had to seek God for an answer. You had to find a prophet or a priest to speak what God was saying. But the prophet Joel, he prophesied that there would be the day in the last days where God would pour out his spirit upon all flesh, that sons and daughters would begin to prophesy. But notice that dreams and visions came to the men and the boys, men and the young men, men and the young men. The articulation of what is produced comes from the vision of a man. He has to produce the seed based upon the calibration of what he sees. He can't produce without first having a blueprint. And so the brother that stopped pressing in, I'm going to give you the good news. You no longer have to press into what's about to fall upon you. Isaiah 64:1, oh, that you would rend the heavens and come down, and the mountain might quake at your presence. These are the days where God says, I don't want you to find me. I'm going to fall upon you. I'm speaking to the brother that thinks he's running from the altar, but don't realize God's going to visit them, because even if you make your bed in your pit, God said, I'll be there. These are the days where God is calling you to mind yourself on him. Mind yourself on him. When you mind yourself on God, you'll mount yourself on God. When you mount yourself on God, you're measured in the amount of God. And when you amount yourself in mounting of God, and the amount becomes a measure, now you become mandated. Do y'all see that? You're mandated where you stand, not where you go. The Bible declares there was a place that Jacob had to wrestle the angel. The angel showed up in the midst of a great transition. He did not go to a holy space to encounter this angel, but that place in which he dwelled became a place that would never be the same. Abram set altars and places that he stayed in the midst of his transition. David, he did the same thing, beginning to worship God in places of transition. And somebody thought that they had to get back to a specific place in order to encounter God. But I came to prophesy to you, my brother, that God is about to fall on you where you are. All you've got to do in this moment is think back. Whatever things give you joy, whatever things give you peace, whatever things give you, the certainty of knowing that God is still here. Think on those things. You have allowed desperation to become your manifestation, but God says it's revelation that will make you the emulation of my son. Come on. And so your desperation and desperate measures should not cause you to move out of the paradigm of your sonship. You're a son of the Almighty first, and then you're a byproduct of the things in the earth. You've allowed the earth to become your God. But in this moment, if you would just simply say out of the fruit of your lips, God, I yield. I prophesy that where you stand becomes your launching pad. Where you stand becomes the altar of the Almighty, where the visitations of God becomes like the ladder of Jacob. The hard place in which you've laid now becomes the place where you see the angels ascend and descend. Go to the New Testament, and Christ says you'll see it above the Son of Man's head. Come on, you'll begin to see that where you are right now is already dated. It's a mandate.
It's a mandate. Powerful. Powerful. I was going to ask you to sing too, but look, won't he do it? It won't always be like this. Okay. You did that. You did that. God will perfect that concerning you. Sooner or later, it'll turn in your favor. Oh, yes. It's turning around for your good. We just gonna leave that right there. I pray that ministered to somebody tonight. Thank you so much for that, Apostle. All right, listen, Apostle was our guest this year at our Not on Our Watch gathering, and he taught on indoctrination, right? So my question as we get closer to our closing out, how is the mass indoctrination of things affecting us as individuals, as a nation, and as a body, as the body of Christ? And how should we be responding and navigating to these things during this time and season?
I really do believe that identity is crucial to what is about to happen in the next couple of years. There is a great reformation and rewiring. And if y'all can put those in the comments, rewire. God is rewiring us. We have been conditioned to obey and submit to parameters, systems, laws, rules, regulations. We've been intimidated to believe that if we do not oblige, we are the menace to society. We have adapted and adopted a lot of ritualism and behaviors that do not reflect the sons of God. And I believe there's a great rewiring. I believe that we are going to find ourselves questioning everything soon. How we were raised, what we were taught, ideologies in science and ideologies in medicine and ideologies in politics. There is a conference in July that I'm a part of called Megavision, and we're dealing with kingdom acquisition, taking over the mountains of influence. And says, I really believe that there is no takeover without first understanding. You cannot be God sent without first being God dwelling, meaning you've allowed him to dwell inside and give you the understanding, the knowledge. I'll say it like this. I went one time to one of my daughter's lunches because it was her birthday one year. And I was in the lunchroom with her. I brought cupcakes for all of her little friends and all that stuff. So they're celebrating her birthday. I'm sitting there with them and they're all talking and laughing, you know, having a good time or whatever. And I'm just being dad. And one of the teachers stood up and she went. And the moment she did that, all of the kids in this cafeteria silenced and did it back. Oh man, something awoke inside of me. I was angry. I was hot. When I tell you, livid, I'm like, my daughter is not responding to somebody's claps. Do y'all hear me? Like, she is a queen. She is an image of daughter, you know, all types of apostolic indignation done the road. But that is us in a nutshell as a society. We literally stay on certain side. I'm not telling y'all to go out there and be reckless, so hear me. But we stay on one side of the road because we've been trained on this is what driving is. We we walk a certain way in malls because we have been conditioned by life that one side of the mall is for one way and the other side is another way. And the person that walks the opposite way of the direction of all the other people is looked at as the weird one, the abrupter. You know, we were taught that if a popular icon or a celebrity says something, that it should become the law of the people and the people should adapt it. And the one that calls it out and says, nah, that's not cool, is the one that's seen as the hater or whatever. We have been so indoctrinated that individuality is now seen as the cancer. The things that we have been marked as unique by is now seen as a frailty. So, you know, we have so much that God is going to rewire because he wants his kingdom to come. You got to make way in the wilderness for that. You got to make way in nothing for that. So guess what? That means everything that was built falsely has to come down. And what was once rubble has to be repurposed. And once it's repurposed, it can be rebuilt in the glory of God. So God is going to crush us. He's crushing our knowledge. He's crushing our understanding, the laws, even down to the rituals that we've been doing. God has got to rewire us. The indoctrination has gotten so bad that I can't distinguish where the suns are arising anymore. Because even down to the things that we say are moves of God is nothing but charismatic witchcraft or emotionalism. Your favorite preacher has been compromised since the beginning. Your most prolific icons have no Jesus in their life. They're saying a God, but you're not asking what God they're serving. Your favorite prophet is a prophet of dissension and division and not of God. But God is about to rewire these people, his people, that the indoctrination and the veil thereof is ripped off, that we can see things for what they are again and build correctly. My perspective is indoctrination kept us silent. It's reformation that gives us our voice back.
Wow. That is good. That is good. So to the person or the people out there that, number one, they've never really heard a lot about a mandate, and or they have, but they've gotten away from that place. What would you say to both of those individuals, that person that's now curious about their identity, they're curious about mandate, they're now questioning, you know, are they properly aligned and positioned when it comes to their identity, when it comes to mandate, when it comes to what God has called them to or commissioned them to? What would be, how could that person now posture themselves in a way to get the instruction, to get the downloads from God in order to really know where they are and where they are not? And how can we also help that person who has moved away from that place because life has been life?
I found that the most confused people of identity are the people surrounded by all types of distractions and noise.
Mm-hmm.
What I would tell somebody that wants to find out who they are, they have to find their space of solitude. David, backside of the mountain. Moses, Midian. Elijah, the Mount Horeb, I believe it was. Maybe it was Mount Sinai, I'm not sure. But where the still small voice came. Jesus, transfiguration. Jesus always withdrawing himself. There are different people. Paul, he's on the road to Damascus, but has to now become blind. All of these moments represent solitude. Paul represents blinding yourself from what you're used to. Jesus withdrawing means that you're constantly removing yourself, that you never become familiar. Elijah, he goes to hear something he's never heard before, a still small voice. David, his song changes when he's by himself, but proven to be used by God with lions and bears before a giant. All of these places, Moses in the burning bush, Joseph in his pit season, all these things really show you that your greatest identity is derived in a place where people can't function with you. Some of us just need to cut ties to distractions. I've had to walk away from family, friends, people I've known in order to recalibrate James based upon what God said first. The issue is we want people to affirm what God affirms and we should confirm. You got to know who you are first by God. And then when men begin to say it, you ain't going to fall out. Oh my God. Somebody says today, man of God, you've got an apostolic calling on your life. I'm not going to fall out drilling out the mouth because God already showed me that in secret. Man is just confirming it. But the issue is if you never hear his voice for yourself, you'll make everybody's voice God and you'll find yourself making idols out of men. So you've got to separate. He said, come from among them, be ye separate. That's what the definition and the essence of holiness is. Be holy, for I am holy. And honestly, holiness is still right. Holiness is not defined by the man in the robe that's still fornicating with other women outside of his marriage. It's not holiness to me. Holiness is not the one with the mega church, but steals the money from the people to go and deal with filthy lucre and greed and gluttony. Holiness is not the man with the viral TikToks or the videos, but doesn't even understand Jesus as a savior who literally submitted what he had to the people and did not care if he gained anything back. So holiness to me is being different from the norm. So if I could give you a step in the right direction for the one that life has been lifing to the one that has found themselves losing their way, choose holiness. Get to the place where you are separate. Get to the place where you've been so far removed from people that when you come around, they've got to question, well, are they good? Are they here for the right, like, what type of time are they on? Get to the place where the fear and the admonition of the Lord falls upon man because you are his representative and ambassador. We got to get back to holiness, sis. Holiness to me is not going to a club. Recently, there was an event that I was a part of. And because I'm holy, I'm not drinking and indulging in drinks in a public place. I don't want my good to be evil spoken of. Am I saying that you can't have an adult beverage? You can do what you do. Don't get drunk like the drunkards. But if that's what you won't catch me doing is going out in a public place, making a public spectacle of myself because I am an ambassador of Christ. And at any moment, I could be the only Bible that somebody's reading. I'm holy. And because of this, sis, I'm 10 toes in my principle. I'm not changing for nobody. I don't care your proclivity or insecurity. I don't care if it functions and seems like I'm righteous or no, let it intimidate you because your flesh has been ruling in your life, not your spirit man, because your spirit man should never be intimidated by what looks like him. You see what I'm saying? So your flesh is competing where the spirit should be completing. So for me, it's holiness, man. And if it's not kingdom, it's weird. That's just my thoughts.
I love it. If it's not kingdom, it's just weird. All right. You heard it straight from the mouth of Apostle James Mouzon. Listen, mandate with Apostle James. This was so powerful. And don't feel bad, you all. Let me just take a moment with the viewers, right? First of all, we love you all. Thank you so much for tuning in, right? But sometimes the things that come out of Apostle, like when Holy Spirit just begins to flow, let me come closer. Come close to the screen. It's okay. Sometimes it will either just punch you in the gut right away as soon as it comes out of his face. And sometimes you just got to go back and listen to it over and over and over again. And there will be some things that will jump out, right? That will make your whole head go, psh, but it will change some things in your life if you allow it to do so. Okay. Mandate with Apostle James Mouzon. Thank you all so much for being with us tonight. Apostle, thank you. This is the part of our interview where we talk about first things, and it's kind of rapid, you don't have to go into too much detail, but first things, can you share with our viewers your first time witnessing and what that experience was like for you, if you remember?
Oh, I remember I was on the streets of Wilmington. We were serving food. It was Thanksgiving weekend. And a brother came and he was hunched over a bike, using a bike as a cane. And he was having somewhat of a spell, I guess, of some sort. Like he was wigging out because he was on like some type of substance. And I was ministering to brothers on a corner. And they were like, oh, here he goes again. And his boldness rose up at me. It's the Spirit of God. Go up to the man. I commanded him to stand straight. I commanded his body to come into alignment. I commanded every foreign substance to come out of his body. He threw it up, and once he threw up, he stood straight. And I said, now walk. And he walked without this bike. And the people, I have it on video. People were like, I've never seen him walk. I've never seen him walk like this. It was the first time I was used for a miracle. But after that, I witnessed to the people, you are the solution in the room. Stop accepting people's low moments as their definition or identity, but instead become the trajectory shifter, the momentum builder. Come on, somebody is around you struggling because you haven't spoken to them. And after that message, my life, when it came to ministering on the streets, it just was never the same again.
Wow. Now, isn't that something? Okay. Tell us briefly about your first demonic encounter and how that went. You like, really, Cookie?
Oh, God. Y'all, all right. Oh, God. All right. So, for the record, Gabby, I love you. Just know that. I don't know if my sister's watching. She was my first, like, guinea pig, I must say. So, boom. I just finished reading this book, They Shall Expel Demons by Derek Prince. And when I tell you this book stirred my shanana, like that's, the ghost inside of me. Like it was just stirred. Like, I'm ready to deliver. So first of all, I started with myself. So I'm going through my own deliverance. I call out lust and pervert. And I'm like over the toilet, like just tripping. And Sharia's like, yo, this man is trying to deliver himself, right? So one day, my sister, she was at her job. She's a daycare worker. And she grabbed this woman who was seizing. She was having a seizure. And my sister like laid hands on her suddenly. And next thing you know, my sister is now dealing with seizures. And epilepsy and all that is not in our bloodline. It's just not, And the Lord started speaking and was like, this is not a bloodline. This is a demon. Like, you know what I mean? Y'all. So I tell my sister, yo, I read this book. I'm going to help you. Now, this is my baby sister. So she trusts her brother. Like, she's like, bro. I'm like, all right. She's like, all right. So I'm like, yo, do you trust me? She's like, yeah. Now, at this time, I'm a youth pastor. And we were in a Bible study. And this thing, every time we prayed, it would come out. Like she'd start breathing all crazy. She'd fall out, have a seizure, all this, like fall back, all that. It was just crazy. Every time we prayed. So I'm like, oh, this is definitely a demon. So I'm looking like, y'all, I'm like, it's go time. It's go time. Right? So watch. So we're coming home one night from praise and worship rehearsal because I'm the minister of music at the time too. So we're talking about the seizure situation. I'm like, yo, it's a demon. Do you trust me? She's like, yeah, bro, I trust you. So I go, in the name of Jesus, I call you unclean spirit out. Y'all, I lie to you not. Her eyes turned black. Her breathing went like that. I looked at her. I was like, all right, sis, I'm gonna let you go. I left it there. I just left it. I did not even, there was no casting out, nothing. So my sister's looking at me like, she had to get out my car. All right. So she's out my car and she goes into the house. She says, bro, I looked in the mirror and this thing is laughing at me now. Like, it's just like, ha, I'm here. She comes to, this is Saturday night. She comes to church Sunday morning. I'm in Sunday school with the young people. We're doing our Sunday service, our Sunday school thing. We're in a circle. And this thing came back out live and direct. Pow! So now we had to actually deal with casting it. It was the first time I ever cast out like a demon, a spirit. And when I tell you the stories after that, I have some stories. Like we've done house deliverance and all that. But I'll never forget that. And Gabby literally laughs about it. I just put her name out there. I'm sorry, sis. Like, I love you though. I said it early. But when she'll tell you the story, she'll be like, yo, my brother like literally left me hanging for a full like night. Like, I was tormented all night, could not sleep, nothing, because this thing was riled up. And she came to church, and that's when we finally dealt with it. But it was that was the first encounter I had with casting out a demon.
Wow. Well, listen, I mean, at least you jumped right on in there, but we all know like it's one thing, you know, sometimes we get to talking about a thing, and when that thing show up, you ain't never dealt with something like that before.
Bruh, I'll take a 0 every day. But no, now I'm more equipped. But back then I was like, oh, it's real. Like, Derek Prince was not lying in this book. Like, this is legitimately happening. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Wow. What's her name? Gabby? You out there?
I hope she's not.
You out there, Gabby?
Say no because
we love you, Gabby.
Sorry, sis. Like, I love you.
Oh my goodness. You have helped us tremendously, Apostle. This was awesome. Can you share with us some upcoming ventures or some projects, some books that you have available for people? Take it from here. It's on you, sir. Share with the folks what you got going on.
So, of course, everybody tap into our tribe, especially if you don't got a church home and all that stuff, and you're in the wilderness looking around like, where am I going to live for the winter? Winter is cold. Y'all might as well come on into the warmth. Amen. Praise God. So join us, ministry, the number 4 millennials on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all that good stuff. We do have an app that dropped in the Apple Store. It will be dropping in the Google Play soon. So our services and all that stuff will go straight through the app. So you can really tap in that way. So, of course, any day, Thursdays, we do our Bible study, and then Sundays, we do our Sunday services. So if you're in the Delaware area, we're right there in Wilmington, Delaware. So Tri-State or DMV, come out, pull up for the one time. So that's any week. We do have next year, the biggest focus we have right now is Mega Vision 2024 with Apostle Jean Marie Carroll out of Charlotte, North Carolina. I am one of the speakers, but we are bringing a lot of things to the table to really build the kingdom for kingdom acquisition. God has blessed me tremendously this year. In the midst of us meeting y'all in August, God allowed us to come home to acquire our second commercial building. We have a church building. We have a multimedia building that we believe by faith will be up and running by 2024. This will be the home and the hub of documentaries and all the things that we're going to be doing on our Apple TV and our Roku TV channel. There's a lot of things that we really want to do to really get the message out there that the millennials are not dropping the baton, we're carrying it. So Megavision is one of those big things that we're doing next year. We are revamping our Identifiers Collective, which is my core group for those that are looking to discover themselves. So if you bought the book or if you buy the book and you really are intrigued to learn more, we pull from this book, and we are literally, it's a course. And I have so many testimonies. You can go to apostlejmouzon.org/identity. And you can actually go through some of the testimonials of those that passed our cohort number 1. And then we're currently in a second cohort, but it's not really a cohort at this point. It's just a collective where we are constantly building on the concept of what are we and who are we. So you can join our Identifiers Collective. So those are pretty much the main things that are happening right now. I'm not taking any more assignments for the rest of this year to focus these last few days on finishing strong and starting stronger. I will be releasing the prophetic word for 2024 Thursday, December the 28th in our Bible study, the year of the soar and the roar. Not only are you ascending to a high place, but you will have authority there. That is your year 2024 in a nutshell. And Cookie, I want you to receive this, because there are some places that God is ascending you to, and he is calling you to operate in great authority there. So when the doors open and the steps are revealed and you begin to ascend and you feel yourself like, wow, I'm in a place that I never thought I'd be, I don't want you to diminish yourself. Instead, roar from that place, because God sent you as an authority there. And the days of us being promoted and being diminished are over. Promotion and ascension shall be your portion, declares the Lord. So these are the things that we've got coming up. And of course, you can tap in on social media with me on pretty much every platform at this point, and see what God is doing next.
Oh, amazing. Awesome. Awesome. Wow. And I want to just take a moment to thank my sister Sharia. Thank you for letting us, just borrow your man just for a little bit, okay? I love you, sis. I know that you're out there. You may be listening in, but thank you so much. I'm thankful and grateful for who you are, and just being there with your man, your husband, your prophet, priest, and king. Listen, because I mean, it's great to see others, represent, marriage, the way it's supposed to be represented in the kingdom. It's a great example for others. And I just appreciate you both for that. Anyone you want to give a thank you to or a shout out to before we head out tonight, Apostle?
Of course, I want to shout out all my tribe, all y'all heavy in the comments. I appreciate y'all. I can't see them here, but I know y'all here because I've been looking on the phone. I got this shirt that I'm rocking. It's
Oh yeah, I peeped that on Facebook. That's
Luce,
dope.
Luce Amore. Yeah, it's literally our brand. One of the pastors of our church, it's his brand, but we all have been repping it. It literally is Italian for love and light. And so I want everybody to pick up some merch because we move in the illumination of God and the love of God. And we got this like super dope commercial that we put out like recently. Like y'all, like it's like just a whole movement right now. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I love the lion. That's my thing. So while we out here in these streets and we're representing a generation with authority and a generation with a roar, we're declaring and decreeing that we're moving in the light of God, the light of Christ. He is the truth, the way, and what? The light. So when we come out, we've been rocking our lion apparel and our lion's head, and all that stuff, because y'all know that's what I do. The lions thing is like my thing, right? But I also have a clothing line coming out next year called Sheiks and Sneaks. So all of the custom dashikis that y'all been seeing me rock, now y'all can, the brothers, I'm sorry, ladies, not yet, but y'all coming. But the brothers will be able to get the custom dashiki tailored to their size and a matching J to go with it, or a sneak. You know what I'm saying? It's a whole box. It's a movement. Like we coming out of this robe stuff and we coming into the culture. You feel me? Like, but anyway, so I just want to shout out everybody that is making this vision possible. The millennial team, our staff, those that are part of the Identifiers Collective, all of our covenant brothers and sisters, you, my brother Nate, all of you guys that we've been building in the vineyard for real, like really building. I just want to shout all of y'all out. Y'all make all of this possible. And 20, 30 years from now, you know what I'm saying? They're going to be saying, oh, he's a forefather of faith. And they're going to be saying, oh, she's a matriarch and a general, all that stuff. But we're going to think about these moments when we had to really muscle through a lot of things and rewire to be inspired to move higher. Just saying. Bars. Love y'all.
Absolutely. We love you all. Apostle, really quick, I probably dated myself a bit a few minutes ago when I said that, the gear was dope. Y'all don't mind me, I'm an 80s baby, and I'm not apologizing, okay? But anyhow.
What year do you think I was born in? I was 89. I was right there on the precipice, right, of the 90s, but I'm the 80s baby too. Like, I just put some respect on my name. I mean, like,
exactly.
Y'all say dope still. Like, I don't think that's age. Is there something new? Because if there is, you just aged me too. Like, we just both up here like,
well, listen, like once it came out my mouth, I was like, wait a minute, do people still say that? I was like, well, you know what? I do. Okay. So that's all that matters.
I was gonna say, I hope we do. Like, if not, I got spiritual daughters and sons that are Z generation. They gotta bring me down. They gotta put me up on the D. Like, I don't know. I'm just out here talking. Now I feel like whippersnappers, right?
I love it. I love the lion. It's a lion on the front, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, most of it. This is just the words, but most of it has the lion's face or the lion's head.
Where did you get the name from?
So he got the name through the Italian language. So he looked up light, he looked up love, put it together. Luce Amore sounds like a brand. And when I tell y'all it's a luxury, this isn't a Gildan shirt. Like no shade to those that do Gildan, but like it's like he like took his time because he wants the kingdom to move in finer things. That's deep. But a lot of us are patronizing things that are third party created and not even the best of quality. Like when I tell you, like it's luxury. So, you know, and this is one of the many brands. We've got Pressed by Grace, we've got Luce Amore, we've got Sheiks and Sneaks. We got a bunch of different clothing lines coming out, but I'm repping Kingdom attire all 2024. Like the days of us wearing, I ain't gonna say that out loud because I might wear it still. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't gonna catch me lying, you know, brother, man of God. You said you wasn't wearing, and those is Jordans. You gonna have to get them over, man of God. No, hold up, wait a minute.
Because you know they'll come for you.
Right, I'm good. Never mind. Let me be quiet.
It's all good. Listen, Apostle, we love you so very much. Apostle's a busy man, okay? Because he is really God's man. Okay. How about that? Right. We got a lot of people out here, you know, they going from event to event, conference to conference. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're really God's man, but Apostle James is really God's man. Again, thank you all so much for supporting, for tuning in. We love you. We hope to see you during our next episode. Stay tapped in, like, subscribe, and share. Ain't that what the folk out there say, Apostle? That's what they say, right? Again, Apostle, thank you so very much. And you all remember to connect with Apostle, okay? Connect with Ministry for Millennials, okay? They're on a few different platforms, right? And we provided some information here on this live. And for those that, you know, will watch, you know, later on, please connect with Apostle and Ministry for Millennials. They are doing God's work out here. Okay. And you heard it here straight from Apostle James Mouzon. Mandate with Apostle James. God bless you. Thank you so much, Apostle. I'll see you soon, sir. And we're out.